Welcome to the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. This is a super quick weekly update for parents on all things social media and big tech. We have a lot of crazy stuff going on this week, so buckle up. Let's start with WhatsApp. So, WhatsApp is owned by Meta, who owns Instagram and Facebook. WhatsApp, you probably know, is a messaging app, and it's encrypted, which means that all messages sent and received are only viewable to the people on the message chain. And this is great for adults in respecting their private conversations, but it's bad for kids, and I'll tell you why. Encrypted messaging enables crimes against children. Encrypted platforms like WhatsApp are known for housing inappropriate and illegal content like child sexual abuse material. These conversations cannot be monitored by you, the parents, or by law enforcement. Encrypted messaging apps are a literal digital hiding place for sexual predators. So WhatsApp can be a dangerous place for your kids, and Meta also made Facebook Messenger conversations encrypted. So the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, it's called NCMEC for short, they estimate that 70% of child sexual abuse reports could go undetected every year after the rollout of encryption. This is specifically on Meta's platform, so that means 14 million incidents of child sexual abuse will go undetected with this encryption in place. As with most social media platforms, kids can download WhatsApp at 13 without parental permission. And remember that the age limits don't mean anything since the child can put in any birth date that they want. But the age limit in the UK and the EU was 16, which is much better and more appropriate, but they actually just lowered the age to 13, which is the wrong direction. Saying that a platform like WhatsApp is safe for 13-year-olds is actually very harmful and irresponsible and dangerous. A lot of parents simply trust the age limits that are set by these companies, and we just can't trust the age limit. We have to do our own research and try to keep our kids away from messaging platforms where the content can't be monitored. Now we're going to talk about TikTok briefly, and I'm going to mention them again towards the end of this episode, but I found a new report this week that I want to summarize for parents. Please listen to this, especially if your child is on TikTok or if you're considering TikTok for your child. A research group called Primetime conducted a series of experiments where they signed up for TikTok accounts on phones with newly installed operating systems. They said they were 13 years old. They didn't search for any topics or like or comment on any videos or engage with anything at all. They simply scrolled through the For You feed. And when shown videos related to topics like parental relationships or loneliness or feelings of isolation, they watched those videos 2 times. So 14 minutes into scrolling, they were inundated with self-harm posts, suicide posts about taking pills, getting hit by a car on purpose, kids talking about their own funerals, even posts showing self-harm scars. By the end of an hour of scrolling, TikTok's algorithm was showing a stream of videos almost exclusively related to depression, to self-harm, and to suicidal thoughts to users it believed to be 13 years old. So what was found, and this has been replicated in other tests that I've seen personally, was that TikTok's algorithm is actually suggesting suicide as a course to deal with a child's issues. And they've been doing this for years, so no one should be surprised that the suicide rates in children and teens, especially teen girls, has skyrocketed. And I know that TikTok is being sued by countless organizations and families for serving addictive and harmful content. But I'm honestly flabbergasted that this platform is allowed to exist. TikTok is literally pushing teen girls to suicide. The connection is clear. This is what keeps me up at night. All right, let's move on. So there's a study from December, but it went under the radar and I want to cover it quickly. This study was published in the British Medical Journal, and it found a link between social media use and participation in health risk behaviors like gambling, alcohol, drug and tobacco use, and even risky sexual practices. So specifically, daily social media use increased the odds of participating in gambling by almost 200%. Are we surprised by this? No. Social media is basically gambling. Gambling is an activity that is based on intermittent reinforcement. You do the same thing over and over, and you get rewarded at random times. Social media is also based on intermittent reinforcement. Most posts you scroll through aren't exciting, but every once in a while you see something that sparks your interest, or you get a comment that gives you that rush. Social media also gamifies the experience, just like a gambling machine. Look at Snapchat nowadays. You get tokens and points and rankings and all these little rewards for using it frequently. It's almost as if the social media companies studied gambling addiction when creating their products in order to make their products more habit-forming. I wouldn't put it past them. All right, more research to update you guys on, and this one is super recent. The American Psychological Association released a report this week stating that platforms built for adults are not inherently suitable for youth. The most harmful aspects of social media for kids were found to be Number one, AI recommended content or the algorithm. Currently, design features prioritize content evoking extreme emotions or content that depict illegal or harmful behavior. Number two is likes and follower counts. We really saw youth mental health start to plummet after these platforms rolled out the ability to like posts and display follower counts. Kids are especially sensitive to both positive social feedback and rejection from others. So, using metrics to maintain platform engagement capitalizes on kids' vulnerability and likely leads to problematic use. So, third harmful aspect is the use of youth data for tailored ad content. Kids are biologically predisposed toward peer influence at this stage and very sensitive to personalized content. So, tech companies are taking advantage of that by using kids' behavior data to target them with ads. Luckily, we have data privacy bills being reviewed by our government here in the US. So, that brings me to this week's congressional hearing. A special committee of congressmen and women met this week in DC to review and discuss 9 online privacy bills, which could and will protect our kids online. Big tech is fighting against all of these bills because they will cut into profits. Profits are the only thing that these companies are worried about. It is vital that parents speak up about these bills. I'm going to list them now, but you can do your own research and decide which ones you like. Then go to house.gov, enter your zip code at the top right, let your representative know which you support, or you could just tell your rep that online safety for kids is important to you. You don't even have to mention a bill. But the bills that you should be looking at are American Privacy Rights Act, APRA, Kids Online Safety Act, COSA, Children and Teens Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA 2.0, the Algorithmic Accountability Act, the Delete Act, the TLDR Act, the Banning Surveillance Advertising Act, Sammy's Law, the Protect Kids on Social Media Act, and the Screen Act. It really is amazing to finally see federal bills being proposed. The game is gonna change once some of these pass, and it will be in the favor of our children. Okay, now that we're on legislation, let's talk about the TikTok bill that everyone is talking about. So, there are some important updates on this bill. I just got off the line with former congressional staffer Patrick Lydon. He's also a public policy expert. I'm going to let him update you guys on what's going on with this TikTok bill. Can you briefly update listeners if they don't know what this bill is?
Yeah, so it's incorrectly called a ban bill, and that's not what they seek to do. Although TikTok is pushing it out there to make sure everyone thinks that it's a ban bill
Yeah.
and that their app is magically going to disappear at some point if this
Hmm.
is signed into law. But what it does do is say ByteDance must fully divest from TikTok as a company, and TikTok must be bought by a domestic company or partnership, and so that's all it says. And if they don't, then there will be a ban. The House passed a bill that had a
Hmm.
6-month divest period.
Yes, but there's been an update to that,
Yep.
right?
The Senate was not very pleased with that bill. Since that time, there is a new bill that's moving through the House that might move with some of the foreign aid packages that you hear about that would offer a 1-year divest period. So it would give the administration greater flexibility and a longer time period for the company to make decisions if the bill is passed in both the
Hmm.
House and Senate and then signed into law.
Okay,
So
so because now there was changes, it has to get passed in the House again.
again, yes.
Okay,
But it's going to move very quickly if it moves with those aid packages. And if, which is a big question, as you know,
yeah,
with all the politics that are happening here, if
yeah.
the foreign aid packages move, then maybe this TikTok bill is able to move with it.
Okay. This was brought to light because there's national security risks, and we were concerned about a Chinese owned company having a lot of our data, very sensitive data. And then the fact that the Chinese government is able to request any data that's owned by their companies at any time.
That is the main concern. It's not that the company is Chinese. It's the fact that the Chinese government can
Hmm.
ask for and receive the information at their request, at their will, and it's built into the laws of China that any Chinese company is required to provide the information and data that the Communist Party requires. And our intelligence communities have basically said this is more or less Chinese spyware that people are willingly put on their phones.
Thank you to Patrick for that update. So, a downside of this bad press for TikTok is that Snapchat is seeing a surge in users and their stock price. This is not what we need. We need kids to stop using Snapchat. Now, this week, Snapchat announced an update related to deepfake photos. They are deploying technology to distinguish photos being generated by AI, and they're adding a little watermark to those images. While I do like to see effort put into differentiating between actual imagery and AI generated imagery, it got me thinking, what about nude images? More and more kids are using free nudify apps to create nude images of their friends and peers, taking photos of kids they know and then throwing it into the app, and the app makes them look realistically nude. So, what if kids share these AI generated nude photos on Snapchat? Is Snapchat going to add a watermark to those? And if Snapchat can create technology to identify AI generated photos, why can't they identify nude images and remove them, especially nude images of minors? Guys, countless kids are taking their own lives after being sextorted, and this is happening on Snapchat almost every time. So, if Snapchat simply caught nude images, didn't allow them to send, we would literally be saving lives. So, come on, Snapchat, start working on that. And on a similar topic, Instagram announced this week that they will be blurring nude images in direct messages. But guess what? An overlay on the blur says, photo may contain nudity, then the user can just click on the photo to remove the blur. So this is a meaningless update. I mean, if you tease kids and teens with a message saying this might be nudity, you think they're going to pass on it? Once again, we have a platform that can identify nude images of minors, yet they refuse to remove the image or just allow it not to be sent. This is because this type of imagery keeps people on the platform longer, which means that these companies make more money. Another infuriating set of moves by big tech that parents just need to know about. That's it for this week on the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. I will catch you next week.